Hello there, Trash Pandas. So after spending the last couple of weeks sweating Digimon games, I thought it might be interesting to check out one of the cheap knockoffs that came out, so I thought I might try this Pokemans that the kids are finding all the rage these days. Okay, so between Nuzlocks, shiny hunts, competitive battling, there's a lot to have fun with outside just the main story aspect of Pokemon games. But the one that's really stood out for me for years is the Youngster Joey challenge. See, for those of you who don't know, Youngster Joey is the first random trainer you battle in the Generation 2 games. His only Pokemon is a... hold on here. Rattata. Ratatouille. I never actually worked out how it was pronounced. So I'm sticking with Rattata, and you can just get angry at me in the comments. But yes, his only Pokemon is a Rattata, and if you give him your number after the battle, he'll periodically call you and update you on its amazing battle prowess and how it's in the top percentage of Rattata. So because clearly Joey knows something that we don't, I'm going to take a page out of his book and tackle the entirety of Pokemon Crystal using only a rat. I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to swap out Chikorita for Rattata. There's no real reason for this, I just always saw the Cyndaquil line as sort of these ferret-bear hybrids, and that seemed like a better fit for the rival than a Croc or the Jelly Llama. So now we're starting out, let's talk a bit about Rattata's stats. I mean they're complete garbage. But for a first stage Pokemon, it's actually got reasonably high speed and it's got decent attack. But every other stat is just atrocious. I do not want this thing taking hits. So my entire strategy is just going to be deal as much damage as quickly as possible. I'm probably not going to have the luxury of setting up more complicated tactics. And to be honest, Rattata's move pool is pretty limiting anyway. So I head straight into the rival battle, and after many tackles, I pull through with red health. But then there's not really much else to say until Violet City. I steamrolled through Sprout Tower, and then it's on to my first gym leader. So I wanted to try and see if I could just clear the trainers and move straight onto Falconer without healing, and then this happened. I actually completely forgot Rattata learned Hyper Fang this early on. With base 80 power and stab on top of that, this is already one of the strongest moves I'll actually have access to for the entire playthrough. There are some other better options further down the line, but we'll get to that. And so yeah, Falconer isn't any trouble. Pidgey goes down in one hit and then Pidgeotto in two. For winning, I get given Mud Slap, and yeah, it's an absolutely horrible move, but right now I actually need it. So I'll teach that straight to Danger Mouse, and then on to the next town. Slowpoke well takes absolutely no time at all. Hyper Fang is just obliterating everything that doesn't resist it now. I wasn't entirely sure how Bugsy would go. The Metapod goes down without any trouble, not that it could really do anything anyway. Kakuna, I was worried a little bit about getting poisoned, but I got lucky and it goes down as well. But I was convinced that Scyther was going to be a bit more of a challenge. And honestly, it actually went a lot better than I thought it would, but I still think it was a lucky victory. Scyther was outspeeding me, and if he'd built up Fury Cutter from the start, I would have lost this. But no, the actual wall I hit was this one, the second rival fight. Initially I thought it was doing pretty well. Ghastly went down in 2 hits, Zubat only got a chance to get a bite in and did minimal damage with that. And then Quilava hit me with a burn, so my attack dropped. And it would have been fine, but then I missed with Hyper Fang! So, on to round 2. And then it begins. Ghastly puts Nori to sleep and starts spamming Spite. So by the time I wake up, Mud Slap just has no PP left. See, this is the reason I had to learn Mud Slap. No other move I have access to right now can actually hit ghosts. And so my only other option here would be to run out all of my PP and then start using Struggle, and nobody got time for that. So I reset and I try again. And it happens again. I was not expecting this battle to be so challenging. After a few more resets, I finally get past the Ghastly. And then I just proceed to sweep the entire rest of the battle without taking a single hit. It just goes to show how much luck can actually be involved in Pokemon battles. In Ilex Forest, I loop back and pick up the TM for Headbutt. Normally I actually completely ignore this, but this is the only other stab move I can really consider for Rattata right now. I mean, there is one more, but it'll not really be of any use just yet. So you see, Hyper Fang has 80 power, but only 90 accuracy. If I learn Headbutt, I'll lose 10 power, but then I'll have a 100% accurate move. However, Headbutt also has a higher chance to cause a flinch, so probably overall it's the best option. But until I decide whether I want power or consistency, I'm just going to hold off teaching it. If the lower accuracy starts becoming a problem, then Hyper Fang will be sent into the void. So now on to everyone's favourite gym leader that definitely didn't ruin any childhoods, Whitney. And yeah, no. Clefairy is always a weird one with Metronome, but it went for Body Slam and I got away without paralysis. But let's be honest, this isn't about Clefairy. Miltank outspeeds and just absolutely annihilates us with a stomp. So I leveled up a bit more and I tried again. Clefairy went for submission this time, but it still just went straight down. Miltank leads with Stomp again, but we actually survived this time with a single hit point. Then Hyper Fang just barely does anything. So yeah, more leveling up. Really, I need to outspeed this Miltank. So I took on the rest of the available trainers, and then I also ended up teaching Headbutt to Jerry. I figure the higher accuracy is just going to be more useful from now on, and the extra flinch chance is a nice little bonus that might just stop rollout in its tracks. And it starts out fantastic. Clefairy flinches, and with one more hit we get to move on to Miltank with full health. And we also now finally outspeed Miltank. This is going good. And then we get a flinch! Excellent! Another headbutt and Miltank is down to orange health. And it goes for rollout. And honestly, that's actually the best thing that could have happened because now it can't use Milk Drink. Rollout does barely any damage, and then the next headbutt causes another flinch! Why didn't I learn this move earlier? And so with that, Whitney is down. So before we can move on to the next gym, we need to deal with an angry tree. Sudowoodo resists everything except Mud Slap, and because I've established already how awful that move is, yeah. But after much spamming, I pulled through with a teeny tiny bit of health. The third rival fight goes far better than the last one, but Haunter uses Curse, and I immediately realise that's going to be a massive problem soon. Even with the health drain though, I take out the rest of his team without any trouble. So you see, Morty is the next gym leader, and naturally his Ghastly hits Tumon with Curse right on the first turn. So there's no way I'm winning this with that much health draining every turn. But then I realise I'm just being completely daft. I forgot to pick up the TM for Dig. And yeah, suddenly ramping up the damage from a base 20 move actually flipped the scales on this battle. Ghastly goes down in one hit, and then Haunter. And then Gengar does survive the first Dig and it goes for Hypnosis, but it misses, so then it faints on the next turn. And yeah, then the final Haunter does absolutely nothing. If only I'd thought to pick up Dig before Sudowoodo. I was on the fence about teaching Shadow Ball right away, but having another look at Rattata's move pool, there really isn't much else I'd want to replace it with. And it's going to be useful for so many battles later, so I just went for it. Plus, having a spare 80 power move really isn't going to be a bad thing in case the PP for Headbutt runs out. Then the Kimono Girls are about as much of a challenge as always, and now it's off onto my next wall, the Fighting Gym. So straight away, the first trainer in the gym is too much of a challenge. Hitmonlee's jump kick is just far too strong for Remy to survive. I've tried a few different methods like using Dig to make him crash, but the recoil is nowhere near to make up for it, and he just knocks me out anyway. So yeah, let's leave this gym be for now and go level up instead. Back at Olivine, I can now take on Jasmine, and I'm not expecting miracles here, but let's at least see what I'm dealing with. Dig makes short work of both Magnemites thanks to their new Steel typing giving them a 4x weakness, but how will it affect Steelix? It's got a monstrous defense stat, so I might need 3 or 4 hits on it and... oh. Okay, well I wonder how much Isle Tail is going to do to... oh no. Okay then, yeah, forget this. Skipping to the 7th gym. The Red Gyarados was a bit of an intimidating prospect, but Wild Pokemon AI came to the rescue. So the first headbutt did less than half health, and then Gyarados went for Leer. And missed. The second headbutt caused a flinch, and so yeah, that's it. 3 hits, no damage taken. Oh, but it still kills me inside to make a shiny Pokemon faint like this though. The Rocket Hideout was just more of the same. Even the executive battles aren't really any trouble, but then I just need to beat up some Electrodes and it's on to Price. I was convinced Price's team was much stronger than this, considering he's the 7th gym leader. Seal goes down to a single headbutt. Dugong survives the first hit but barely scratches me with Aurora Beam, and then it goes down the next turn. But now it's on to Price's ace, Piloswine. And we get a crit on the first turn and take it down to red health. But then it uses the scariest of all moves, Mist. So just to make us entirely forget all of that happened, Price used a Hyper Potion, and then Headbutt immediately takes off just over a third of Piloswine's health. The next hit took him down into red, and so Piloswine went for Blizzard, which would probably actually hit me quite hard, but it missed. and so a final headbutt took it out. So now we're just that little bit stronger and we won't get bullied by the regular trainers. Time to attempt Chuck. Primate goes down to a single headbutt, so that's a great start. And then Poliwrath is next. So yeah, headbutt is going to take 3 hits. But Poliwrath goes for Mind Reader, and I know exactly what's coming next. So my brain basically just forgot how moves work, because I tried to be a little bit clever and avoid Dynamic Punch, forgetting that Mind Reader overrides Dig's evasion. But then Pinky somehow actually survived the hit, but it hit itself in confusion the next turn and it fainted. But all is not lost, this fight is actually clearly doable. Attempt number 2 starts out the same with Primate doing absolutely nothing. I lead into Poliwrath with Headbutt, and it goes for Mind Reader again. But this time I go for Headbutt again the next turn. So Dynamic Punch left me on a tiny bit of health, but this time I actually managed to land the final hit. So that's 1 wall down. I feel like another level or 2 would have actually made this fight much more simple. Poliwrath only had a tiny bit of HP left there after all. But it doesn't matter now, because now we're back to see Jasmine. So this time I'm going into the fight with somewhat more of a strategy in mind. Steelix might have high defense, but its special defense is awful. Now Rattata's special attack is also awful, but I decided to give Icy Wind a try just to see how it goes. And yeah, it does about the same as Dig. Go figure. Oh, and that Iron Tail is still just hitting far too hard. And for a while at this point, I kind of didn't know what else to do, but just keep throwing myself at the steel wall. And throw myself I do, again and again. And then this battle happened. So, Steelix's first Iron Tail misses. And then it misses again. And again. And then Jasmine uses a Hyper Potion, so I have to start all over again. So I get another 2 hits in, and Steelix decides it's sick of missing with Iron Tail. So it misses with Screech instead. And then finally, when it was back down to orange health, it decides it actually wants to land an Iron Tail. I did not come this far to lose now, damn it. 1 more hit takes it down to red health, and it misses with Iron Tail. So yeah, that's Steelix down. After this battle, I sort of just sat there gobsmacked for a bit. Then Jasmine gives us the TM for Iron Tail, which Rattata can actually learn. And obviously I'm going to use it after this flawless display we just witnessed. So now time for one final bit of Team Rocket time wasting. So yeah, just steamroll through the grunts once again, and then they just decide to give up. And with that, I can move on to the next town. Well, after I've done a bit of shopping anyway. You see, now I have enough money to buy the TM that would have been really useful a few battles ago. Blizzard costs 5,500 coins in the game corner, and up until now I just couldn't afford it. So I get angry at some puzzles in Ice Path, and I kill Santa on the way, and then I make it to Blackthorn. So it's time to test my fancy new move on one of the trainers, and it misses. And then I get paralysed, and 2 hits from Dragon Rage knocks me out. No, you know what? That never happened. So I walk up to this trainer for the first time, and Blizzard knocks out his Dragonair with 1 hit. All is right in the world. Time to face Claire. So this battle is going to heavily rely on Blizzard's abysmal accuracy actually behaving itself. First Blizzard hits, so that's 1 down. And then the next one. And then it misses. And I get paralysed. No! Dragonair chips off a little bit of health with Ice Beam before I can knock it out, but I really didn't want to go into Kingdra paralysed. So yeah, Headbutt actually does a decent bit of damage, but 2 serves and I'm down. Let's try that again. So the first Blizzard hits, and then the second, and clearly we've gained the wind's favour this time because the third one lands. So we're onto Kingdra with a nice healthy rat. And this time, thanks to the fact I'm not paralysed, I outspeed, and Headbutt lands Kingdra just above half HP. And Surf does about the same to us. So this is just a numbers game now. We both end up down to red HP, and then I completely forgot about Claire's Hyper Potion. Oh no! Well, Rizzo was having none of that, because it lands a crit and brings Kingdra back down to red health. So with one final headbutt, the Seahorse is down, and we have our 8th badge. Or at least we do after Claire throws a bit of a tantrum and we have to go take a personality test. So finally, after a long journey, we head across Tojo Falls and towards the Pokemon League. But before we can make it there, the rival stops us in Victory Road to have the ultimate final battle. And it goes pretty much like this. Headbutt, Blizzard, Dig, Shadow Ball, Shadow Ball. Typhlosion actually survives a hit, and it uses Smokescreen, but then Headbutt just lands anyway, so I finish the fight without taking any damage. so that was anticlimactic. So now I'm taking bets on how the Elite Four will go. First up is Will, and for once I'm actually not too worried. 2 words, Shadow Ball. Xatu faints, and then Jinx. Executor does survive, but it misses with Leech Seed, and then it's down on the next turn. I wasn't exactly expecting to take Slowbro down in one hit, but I may as well have anyway. It goes for Amnesia, and I basically get a free turn. Remember, Shadow Ball is actually a physical attack in this generation. And then finally, Xatu is down. So yeah, I think this is actually the easiest Will battle I've ever had. Well, let's see if my luck can keep up through Koga. Ariados survives a headbutt and does a little bit of damage with Giga Drain before it's taken out. I then land a crit on Venomoth and that's gone. So far, so good. And then Forretress comes out, and this is the one I've been dreading. I have absolutely no good moves to deal with it. I can only do neutral damage with Dig, and that immediately becomes useless because of Protect. So I start chipping away with Headbutt, but it's just returning just as much damage to me with Swift. Then the next hit does land a flinch, so maybe we can pull through. Oh, it exploded. Okay, that's not great, but it does give me an idea. Attempt number 2. Ariados uses Double Team, but we hit it anyway, so that's 1 down. Venomoth takes 2 hits, but we do get a flinch, so that's perfect. So now to put my plan into action. I go with Headbutt and Forretress wastes time using Spikes. It does hit with a couple Swifts while I chip away at its health, until finally I get it down to orange. And then I use Dig. And the foolish AI falls perfectly into my trap and picks Explosion. So now only 2 more Pokemon to go, but we're at quite low health. The second turn of Dig leaves Muck just hanging on and it uses Minimize, but I hit it next turn anyway. So finally we have Crowbar. I managed to land Blizzard and it's just not enough. I survive a wing attack, but then naturally Koga goes for a full restore. So I just hold my breath and hope for the best. And thankfully Blizzard hits again. So that's Koga out of the way. So remember how Chuck was one of my biggest fears throughout the gyms? Well, for the first time in recorded history, Bruno is a real threat. First up is Hitmontop. It survives Headbutt and then goes for Dig. So I also use Dig just to miss the damage. It uses Detect and I also miss, but I was kind of expecting that. Another Headbutt takes it out. Next up is Hitmonlee, and this is when I realised that Headbutt only has 3 PP left. I completely forgot to restore it after Koga. Well, naturally to save PP I end up getting a crit, and Hitmonlee is down. I went with Shadow Ball for Hitmonchan just to save a bit more PP, and I take it out with 2 hits, although it does leave me with 29 HP. This might seem like a bad position to enter the Machamp fight with, and it sort of is, but honestly I wouldn't want to take a hit with full health. Well, apparently the game agrees with me. First Headbutt does just over a third and lands a flinch. And now with my final bit of PP, Headbutt gets a crit. Bye bye, Machamp. Now please don't let Onyx be the thing that takes me out, for the love of God. But no, Blizzard hits and Bruno's done. So at this point I was thinking Karen could go either way. On the one hand I'm not expecting many heavy hits from her, but she does have some sneaky tactics. Headbutt does about a third of Umbreon's health and it lands a flinch. And then another one. So yeah, Umbreon is down. Somehow Headbutt may actually be the greatest move of all time. With Vileplume I didn't really want to test my luck with Blizzard's accuracy, so I went for another Headbutt. It missed with Stun Spore and I take it out the next turn. I show some Shadow Puppets to Gengar and it gets so impressed that it faints. Then Murkrow survives by the skin of its beak and it lands a feint attack before it goes out on the next turn. Last up is Houndoom, and this is the one that usually gives me trouble. Well, it doesn't have a chance, because I land another flinch and it goes down the second turn. Karen is absolutely furious and demands to speak to the manager, so I'm off to go and get Lance. I'll be honest, I was really not looking forward to Lance. Every single one of his Pokemon just hits so hard, and Scabbers is just so frail. So Gyarados first. And the thing I've learnt about Lance's Gyarados is that it almost always uses Rain Dance on the first turn. So it gives us a turn to play with before the bloodbath begins. So I get a Headbutt off and oh look, Rain Dance. The second Headbutt is just shy of knocking Gyarados out, and then it goes for Flail of all things. I actually have no idea how I survived that. But with Gyarados down, we begin the Blizzard Lottery. One Dragonite down, and then another. And then Blizzard fails to knock out Aerodactyl and retaliates with Rock Slide. But that did go way better than I was expecting. So I try again. I get much better luck with Gyarados this time, and Headbutt takes off just over half health. So after it wastes a turn with Rain Dance, I finish it off. Now we're nice and healthy, so please don't miss. And Blizzard connects. Twice. 3 times! Aerodactyl does hit us with Rock Slide and gets a crit, but I just pull through. And then Headbutt knocks it out. And now I'm on to Charizard with 18 hit points. Well, that's just terrifying. And I get a flinch. Seriously, what even is Headbutt? So with that, Charizard goes down, and it's just one final Dragonite. And I'm once again at the mercy of Blizzard's accuracy. I can't even look. But it lands, and with that, Lance is finished. I can only imagine he's now just off to retire. Who knew that long before Fairy type existed, Rat type was actually super effective against dragons? Well, that wasn't too bad. Completed the game at level 60. Wait, what's that? What do you mean, Kanto? 8 more gyms? Oh, for Alright, fine. Straight off the SS Aqua and into Surge's gym, and it does not go well. Raichu survives and uses Thunder Wave, and then it immediately hits with Thunder, and we're really not starting the fight in a good way. Headbutt does knock it out, but then Electrode comes out and just starts spamming Double Team. Eventually Headbutt finally lands, but it survives and uses Explosion. See, it was this fight I realised that Dig was actually completely useless. Up until now, I was under the impression that Dig was actually 80 power, but it turns out that back in the day, it was only 60. So even though Dig is super effective, after a stab, Headbutt actually isn't too far behind, and it doesn't give the opponent a free turn to set up. So round 2. I still use Dig on Raichu because I'm hoping that tiny little extra bit of power lands a KO, and it does. Headbutt knocks out the first Electrode. I have to use Dig on Magneton thanks to its Steel typing, giving it a chance to use Double Team, but Dig hits anyway. And then the second Electrode fades to Headbutt. And finally we're on to Electabuzz. I'm not really sure if Headbutt is going to have enough power to take it out, and, well, we'll never find out because I got a crit. So that's badge number 9. So next up is Sabrina, and I have Shadow Ball. On to Erica. I wasn't really sure what to do with Erica. Blizzard is super effective, but we also have terrible special attack, so I go for Headbutt, and 2 hits takes Tangela down. I do use Blizzard on Jumpluff just because that 4 times weakness is just far too inviting. Victory Bell flinches after a Headbutt and Erica heals it, but that just gives me another free turn, so it goes down after another hit. And then Blossom survives Headbutt, and it goes for Petal Dance, and I kind of held my breath for a moment, but it ended up doing next to no damage. Well, that's that then. Janine is next, and a Pokemon at such a low level I almost feel bad. I knock out the Crobat, Weezing does survive a hit, but it misses with Toxic and it goes down next turn. And then the second Weezing does the exact same thing. Ariados gets splattered, and then finally it's a trump card, Venom, oh it's dead. After some faffing about at the power plant, I get to take on Misty. I guess Psyduck finally stopped being a burden and evolved because she opens up with Golduck. Or maybe it still is a burden. It flinches and I knock it out in 2 turns. Then Quagsire gives me a free turn by using Amnesia, and that gets taken out next. Lapras is a little bit chunkier, so I get really confused when I deal this much damage, but then I realise it's because it's a crit. It does land a Blizzard, but it doesn't really do too much, and then I take Lapras out. Oh look, Starmie is a Psychic type. So 5 Kanto gyms down, and now I have to get past the Snorlax and finish the others. So I go get my radio upgrade, and then when I go to use it I realise I never actually picked up the radio. Well, that's embarrassing. So after a quick trip back to Johto, I wake up the Chonky Bear. This fight was actually way easier than I was expecting. A crit almost actually KO'd at the first turn. It used Rest, but then Headbutt took it out before it could wake up. This bodes really well for later on, but for now we need to continue our gym quest. Most of Brock's battle is just hoping that Blizzard connects, and so Graveler and Rhyhorn go straight down. Omastar does resist ice, so I have to switch to Dig. It gets a Surf in before I knock it out. I'm not really expecting any trouble from Onix, but I still don't want to take any extra damage. And Blizzard hits and it's on to the final Pokemon. Kabutops has lower defense than Omastar, so Dig is just shy of knocking it out, then Surf barely does any damage. It does get an annoying Endurant to stall, but the next hit finishes it. Blaine I was a little bit concerned about. This Pokemon can hit hard, and I really don't want to have my attack cut by suffering a burn. So Dig plays into Macargo's 4 times weakness, although it just say survives thanks to Curse. But then it wastes its next turn with another Curse, so we're off to a strong start. Now as I learnt with Surge, Headbutt is probably going to be the better option now. Magmar goes straight down. Rapidash does get in a Fire Blast, but thankfully we don't get burned. And then Blaine wastes a max potion and I take it out the next turn. Huh, so much for that then. On to the mysterious final gem. Oh look, it's Bud from the Generation 1 games. He has a fairly balanced team like he does as champion, and I always felt like this fight was a good way to tell how well your team was going to fare against the last challenge, albeit at a much lower level. Well, Blizzard fails to knock out Pidgeot thanks to our pathetic special attack, and it retaliates with Mirror Move before I can finish it off. Shadow Ball is a thing, so Alakazam just isn't a problem, but then Blizzard misses against Rhydon and it destroys Itchy with Earthquake. On the second attempt I use Headbutt against Pidgeot and it ends up doing less than half damage. How bulky is this bird? It mirrors my Headbutt before I take it out with Blizzard. Onto Rhydon. Blizzard hits again, and with Rhydon's awful special defense it just goes straight down. Gyarados flinches on the first turn, but it's clearly going to take 3 hits to take down. And then second turn it goes for Rain Dance. And just when I think I'm about to take it out, Blue pulls out a full restore. Oh no. I get it back down to orange health and it goes for Hydro Pump. And this is going to hurt. Except it misses. And then Blue pulls out another full restore. How many of these do you need? Well, I finally move on after getting a crit and wiping out the overgrown fish. Now I'm expecting to need 2 hits on Exeggutor, so I'm really just hoping it doesn't do too much damage. Well, it decides it really wants to use Solar Beam, so I just get a free turn to knock it out. Nice. Arcanine I was dreading. See, it knows extreme speed, so if it gets me to low enough health, it's just going to immediately hit me again before I can do anything. To make things even worse, Headbutt doesn't actually take off half health. But I do at least land a flinch. But there's no way I'm going to get that lucky next. Oh, I did. 2 attempts for Blue really isn't bad. But this means it's time. There is no way that level 69 is going to be enough to get through this final battle, but I at least want to see how much work I have to do. So before I challenge Red, I want to make 2 slight changes to my moveset. First off, I had enough money to pick up Thunder, and I replaced Dig since it's basically just useless now. The second move I want to learn is Return. I was actually planning on teaching this much earlier, but Headbutt's flinch rate just ended up being so useful I actually forgot about it. But I really don't want to just cheese this battle with flinches, so I'm going to go for Raw Power. So here we are, the protagonist from Gen 1. He leads with a level 81 Pikachu, and I'm fairly sure it also holds a Light Ball, so I'm pretty sure it can hit quite hard. But this is still a Pikachu, and even at 12 levels lower, Return very nearly knocks it out. Charm is a move that I really didn't see coming, and that attack drop would absolutely ruin me, but luckily it misses and I finish off the mouse after Red wastes a full restore. Next up is Espeon, and now I realise just how much of a hill I have to climb. It outspeeds me and just deals so much damage with Psychic. And then Shadow Ball comes absolutely nowhere near close to knocking it out. I'm going to need to level up a lot more before I can try this again. Well, thankfully, there's a nice set of respawning trainers that give decent experience. Yeah, that's right, I'm going to turn the Pokemon League into my own personal XP farm. So I've come back at level 80, so let's see how this goes. Pikachu is now a guaranteed 1 hit, so that's nice. But now let's see if I can handle Espeon. Well, I now outspeed, so that's an improvement. But I still don't knock it out. And then it still just hits so hard. But I do make it to Snorlax. And yeah, that was not going to go any other way. Level 85. Espeon still isn't a 1 hit. And taking one of those Psychics just leaves me with far too little health to get any further. So I actually end up getting to level 91 before I can 1 hit it. But the struggle is only just beginning. Now I need to deal with Snorlax. Thanks to my leveling up, I actually now do more than half health, which is a great improvement. And then it forgets how to battle and uses Amnesia, so I knock it out. Halfway through and we're actually still at full health. I tried out Blizzard on Venusaur. I wasn't really expecting to knock it out, but I guess I was maybe hoping for a freeze? But it uses Sunny Day and I finished off with Return. So I was planning on using Thunder here, but thanks to the sunlight it now has even worse accuracy than normal. To top it off, I'm now also up against a boosted Fire type. It hits me with a Flamethrower and oh dear god, this is going to hurt. I somehow survive on 17 health. It's going to take some absolute nonsense to take out Blastoise. Return does just over half health and ridiculous nonsense happens. Blizzard misses. Is this it? Is this it? Yes! Blastoise falls and Red is just left speechless that he was destroyed by Stuart Little. Man, I am so glad I spent money on Thunder. But the prophecy has been fulfilled. The highest percentage of Rattata has been achieved. Long live Youngster Joey! Honestly, that all could have gone much, much worse. 91 is a far lower level than I was actually expecting. Against a team almost fully consisting of mid-70 fully evolved Pokemon, I was ready to still be struggling even at level 100. But let's be honest, so much of this run was absolutely requiring some insane luck to pull off. I'm not even sure it would have been possible without some ridiculous flinches. Later generations offer Rattata a much more versatile move pool, and that makes runs like this so much easier. But there's really not much you can do with it in Gens 1 and 2. I'm actually really considering attempting this same run in Yellow and comparing the difficulty of the two. But for now, our journey is finally over. This has been by far my longest video to date, and for sticking through it with me, you've earned the favour of the Trash Gods. So, as usual, my Discord and social links are in the description below. I've also added a link for the Universal Pokemon Randomizer just in case anybody wants to try this insanity out for themselves. But yeah, this will probably be my last video of 2021, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next year.